Welcome back to A Safe Place. If you're new here, my name is Mariah, and we are currently going through the book of John through the month of February in 2025. We're on our last week, and it is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We're getting into chapter 18 today, so let's see what's happening. Let's see what happens in this chapter. Jesus is betrayed by Judas, denied by Peter, and then questioned by the high priest and Pilate. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the brook Kidron, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas, having procured a band of soldiers and some officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that would happen to him, came forward and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" They answered him, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am he." Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Jesus said to them, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. So he asked them again, "Whom do you seek?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. So if you seek me, let these men go." This was to fulfill the word that he had spoken, "Of those whom you gave me, I have lost not one." Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword into its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me?" So the band of soldiers and their captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. First they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. It was Caiaphas who had advised the Jews that it would be expedient that one man should die for the people. Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. Since that disciple was known to the high priest, he entered with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood outside at the door. So the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to the servant girl, who kept watch at the door, and brought Peter in. The servant girl at the door said to Peter, "You also are not one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and officers had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing and warming themselves. Peter also was with them, standing and warming himself. The high priest then questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. Jesus answered him, "I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in synagogues and in the temple, where all Jews come together. I have said nothing in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. They know what I said." When he had said these things, one of the officers standing by struck Jesus with his hand, saying, "Is that how you answer the high priest?" Jesus answered him, "If what I said is wrong, bear witness about the wrong. But if what I said is right, why do you strike me?" Ananias then sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. So they said to him, "You also are not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Peter denied it, and at once a rooster crowed. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters, so that they would not be defiled but could eat the Passover. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken, to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So Pilate entered the headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this on your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." Then Pilate said to him, "So are you a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" After he had said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him, but you have a custom that I should release one man for you at the Passover. So do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. I love how John leaves on like a little cliffhanger for these chapters, even though that's not how it's written, but just it's interesting. Okay, so 3 men failed to take a stand for Jesus. Judas made a terrible choice by selling his allegiance to Jesus for a handful of silver. He tried to stand with him and also stand with them, right? On the other hand, Peter was ready to give his life in defense of Jesus, but a sword was the wrong weapon at the wrong time. Afraid and alone outside of the door of the high priest, Peter stood with them, right? And denied knowing Jesus. Pilate chose power and security over truth, siding with the crowd and delivering Jesus to be crucified. Greed, fear, and power stood in the way. When has that been you? Any of those situations? Where do you stand when people ridicule and mock God and his word? Are you like Peter, courageous one moment and then fearful the next? Have you denied him by simply being quiet? Jesus suffered humiliation and pain in order to stand for us, right? He died a gruesome death for our sins. So what are we willing to endure in order to stand for him? I pray that you have the most blessed Tuesday, and thank you if you have watched all of these videos leading up to this. Just thank you for being here. I didn't expect this to do really anything, so I've been incredibly surprised, even though I really shouldn't be surprised because God asked me to do it and this is his. But yeah, thanks for sticking it out with me. I am not great at this, and I'm pretty terrible at reading if you've seen any of my blooper reels. So yeah, just thanks for being here. I pray that you have the best Tuesday, and I will see you back here tomorrow for chapter 19. Bye.